Oh, all right, great. Looks like there are, yeah, so there's already a few folks here, so. All right, well, for those who are here already, welcome. We're really excited to have Marisca here with us today to read some stories and poems, and also if there's any questions that folks have about the pieces, or maybe even just about writing. There is well, it looks like there's a chat function here now. I don't know if you all can see that or not. If not, there's the Q&A button down at the bottom of the session window that you can use to submit questions for Marisca to answer. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna turn it over and we'll get started.
Hello. Welcome. As people come in, I'll give us maybe like 2 minutes to see people trickle in. In the meantime, I'm so excited to be here. I am sad I didn't get to be at some of the earlier events at the conference today because I was at work, but I am super stoked to be here now and get to share some pieces with everyone. I have a collection of speculative poetry coming out in April from Android Press. It's called Rivers in Your Skin, Sirens in Your Hair. So I'll be reading some poems from that, as well as a couple solar punk stories. And I'm going to kind of alternate them and go gradually more spooky and try to lead us into an October mood. So a little bit about me. I'm a queer author based in Western Massachusetts on the ancestral homelands of the Pecumtuck and Abenaki peoples. I use she, her mostly. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I write a whole bunch of different genres: poetry, short fiction, mostly fantasy and science fiction, some horror. And I have some novels out on submission right now. So all over the place. I do a little bit of criticism, some academic writing, some essays, so a whole lot of things. So it's 5:02 now, so I think I'll get started. The first thing I'm going to read is a story that was published a couple of years ago and is actually going to be reprinted in, I believe, January. Metaphorosis is putting out an anthology on museum stories. So this story is called Museum of Glass. It was originally published by Unsung Stories. So I dropped the link in the chat. Hopefully everyone can see it. And just feel free to close your eyes, relax. I'm just going to get started. Museum of Glass. At the bottom left corner of the cornfield, there is a museum of glass. Of course, it is not always a cornfield. Every other season, we grow potatoes there. And before that, it was tussled and free, a rolling expanse of aster and daisies and black-eyed Susans, their bodies warping with the wind and springing back again, bright and glittering in the sun. Before that, we expect it was just another section of wood, maple and birch and oak and spruce, grapevines tangling in their branches, reaching for the sun. The space where the museum is now would have been covered in leaves, their bodies swishing when the wind stirred them into action, curling in pirouettes before snow came to cover them up for half the year. And you should see it in the snow. When the corn has been harvested and all the leaves swept off to the north, the snow descends on the hard brown soil and blankets everything in silence. Only a handful of sticks peek through, punctuating the landscape with the slashes of their bodies. They lean this way and that, immobilized by the snow. Their stumbling forms create a stage on which the museum rests, its doors flung wide in every direction, no matter the season or the weather. Maybe our museum is not unique. Maybe there is one at the bottom left corner of every corn or potato field, reflecting the sprouts as they grow and the seeds as they fall. Maybe there are brick museums and wood museums and museums made entirely of doors. We do not know. We only know that every year, hundreds of people come to visit the Museum of Glass. They come from other farms and from the woods and the hills. They come from families or from lives of solitude. They come with nothing. They come wanting nothing. They come. When they come, they ask where it is. They skirt along the edges of the field, peering through the corn stalks, and they roll up to our door. We are the keepers of the museum. We did not build it. We did not find it either. It was there when we were born, and it will continue to exist, so long as the field is there, marking its place on the world. When people come, we guide them. We take them through the open doors and we show them all the wonders of the Museum of Glass. Everything is transparent in the Museum of Glass. Your footsteps echo on the floors, but when you look down, all you see is grass, moist and green in the hothouse atmosphere beneath the museum's foundations. Your shoes leave flecks of dirt in the space between your feet and the ground. You wonder if the air will clear them away. Inside the Museum of Glass, there is always a fresh breeze. Your guide is a keeper. They are tall, thin, their robes reminding you of the ascetics from your village who ask the stars about the past. The keeper tells you the doors and windows of the museum are always left open. You shuffle forward with your group. There is no fee, which is good, as you have no money. All you have are your pockets, which hold only your hands. Everyone around you comes from the surrounding villages and farms, carving their histories from the soil. There is no need for money when everything you work for has substance and dirt. Your guide leads you through the front hall of the museum and you marvel at the displays. In front of you, visitors shuffle, clad in wrinkled flannel rolled up to the elbows. Their arms are dirty from working the land. Their skin is dark like yours. Their hair is covered to protect it from the sun. And the sun reaches you even here in the museum. When you look up, you see clouds and blue sky. Slight distortions where panels meet are the only indications that the museum has a roof. Its glass is pristine, invisible. You wonder at the craftsmanship that created such a thing. It surpasses any architecture you have seen before. You wonder if the keepers made it to watch the stars. Your group shuffles forward into the first room. Next to you, an old woman runs her fingers along the wall to keep her bearings and balance. Her skin leaves light trails of dirt behind, like breadcrumbs. Here is the Hall of History, your guide proclaims, backing out of the way as your group files in. You look around, seeing the cornfield and trees outside. Then, as your focus adjusts, you light on the objects. Cases dot the space, glass pedestals and glass covers. Some have twisting glass stands to support their cargo, and every piece is labeled with a small white card. The cards stand out clearest, a flock of suspended white squares filling the room like leaves paralyzed in scattered descent. You notice a case very near to you and step close to read the card. It describes a work of exquisitely blown glass etched with clouds and stars. You read the name, Divinity. Your eyes slide up to consider the form. If you squint, you can just make out the edges of the sphere, bending in and over themselves. The air between is warped, and a slight fuzziness indicates an atmosphere within. You blink and lose focus. You move on. The old woman takes your place, fumbling with her glasses. You wander through the room, using the placement of the little cards to guide you and keep you from blundering inadvertently into one of the delicate cases. As you tiptoe around a dais, your gaze slips to an especially small piece near the wall. On the other side, corn stalks wave. You walk over and stoop to see the object. It is held within a tall box case. As you try to decipher the shape within, another visitor comes around the other side, and you find yourself looking at them through the glass. Their face is distorted by layers of transparency, increased in the concentration you feel reflected in your own features. While you watch, they study the object within the case, their eyes roving up and down its contours. Then they look up and meet your gaze. You are locked in this act of looking, observing each other through the panes. Confusion and discomfort are on their face, and you know they were unable to unlock the secret behind the object. Instead, you contemplate each other, searching for answers in a stranger's face. Their eyes seem familiar, more accessible than the art that stands between you. They straighten and move off to the next piece. You watch them through the glass, forgetting to alter your stance to see them without the object in between. When they have left, you pull your focus back to the piece before you. You can see the trees standing uncertainly outside the museum, their leaves lush and green. You try to rein in your sight, focusing on the dimensions of the art, but they seem to constantly be changing. First, you think the piece is as tall as its case, glass tickling glass in a gesture you can hear in your mind. Next, it is almost invisible, huddled at the bottom of the box, barely peeking over the lip of the white card. While your group mills about the room, you remain exactly where you are. There is something that draws you to this particular piece, to its waves of light, the way it seems to alter the air between you and the trees beyond. You try to determine its shape, fancying you can make out jagged lines that fracture the world on the other side. But each time you shift your eyes, they are gone, and the piece is invisible once more. Exhausted by looking, you resort to reading the card. It states the medium in clear black script, glass, and the artist, Kelly. You turn to the title, and even that is enigmatic, speaking of some elusive, intangible word, whose only image is in its letters. Integrity, 2300. It's not clear whether this is the model or the year in which the piece was made. You continue to stare, to try to uncover its secrets, even after the keeper has moved on to the next room and your group has followed. Because the walls are clear, they have never once moved out of your sight. Through the glass, you watch them, dark figures pirouetting around tidy white cards. When they are ready, they leave and go back to the lands that birthed them. We watch them go, standing at the bottom left corner of the cornfield. Often, they leave things with us. Headscarf, blue with yellow trim. Gloves, wool, hand-knitted, green. Apples, 4, speckled and uneven. Rice, red, 1 pound. Mirror, silver and black, small. Pitcher, ceramic, gray with blue flowers. Glass, in pieces. We take these gifts and give what we can in return. We give them corn and potatoes and herbs from our garden. We give them cloth made with our hands. We give them words of encouragement and validation. We give them memories to bring back to their homes. And when they are gone and it is night, we bring their gifts back to our house. We sit down and write notes. We write about their faces, their hands, their words. We write about the lands they came from and the lands they went to. We write about their stature, their requests, their exclamations. We write about their eyes. We write about everything we can remember, and then we put labels on everything they have given us. In the morning, we separate the items into what we can use and what must be kept. The useful things sustain us until the next group comes. We nourish ourselves on gifts of food and read the notes with each bite we take. What cannot be used, we wrap up and we take it to the bottom of the field. Next to the Museum of Glass, there is a place that has no name. In this place, we put everything we want to remember. When the season changes and the corn shifts to potatoes, we go back to that place. Sitting on the ground between the swaying stalks of 2 asters, we find a neat stack of white cards. Written on each in a tidy black hand is something that cannot be described, along with a name. Hope, Marilyn. Compassion, Omar. Levity, Harriet. Humanity, Anonymous. We bring these subjects to the museum, where we always discover a new room and pedestals on which to set the cards. Each word and each name finds a place in the Museum of Glass. Okay, now I'm going to shift to reading some poems. So these are some poems from the first part of my collection, Rivers in Your Skin, Sirens in Your Hair, which I'm going to put the link in here to the page about the collection, which is coming out, as I said, from Android Press in April. Okay. In Parting. When I left home, I took only what I could carry. Sea glass, postcards, embroidery thread woven between my fingers, circling my wrists. I braided my hair with eggshells and apple seeds, trussed together under a paisley pashmina. I wove pockets I'd accumulated, stitches over my shoulders, knees to accommodate Polaroids, owl pellets, wax seals and vintage stamps. Pillowcases bulging with stuffed animals and clementines for later, headphones for the bus, extra USB cables wrapped around my mother's perfume. A doll felted from my first cat's fur, the jawbone of an English sheep. With the Larousse, my pockets filled, I turned to my collarbones, wedging Play-Doh, fish food, pine needles, and glass beads into leftover spaces. When I could carry no more, my throat lined with academic papers and diary entries rolled up in rubber bands, I stepped towards the door. I forgot nothing as I left. My last act, unscrewed bookshelves, carefully folded into the creases of my skin. These days were made for us. So tell me that rain wasn't made for me. Tell me that there's a difference between diamonds and teardrops. So tell me that seagulls fear the ocean. Tell them that water isn't touchable, not really. We all shrink away from things that are bigger than us. So tell the field that mud is just shy soil and that a hole is a memory of bravery, exploration and dirty shoes that don't quite know the way. So tell me that mud wasn't made to remember where I go, and tell me that you fear the ocean just like an eye fears a tear, and the clouds fear the rain. The size of your fist. I tried molding my heart, carving it of golem clay and incising my wish on its malleable skin. Love me back. I fired it too long and brittle, it broke the day my ribs collapsed. I decided metal was stronger and forged my heart again in the same mold. Iron was too heavy, steel too cold, copper too weak, and green too soon. Aluminum bent out of shape just with words. Metal, I realized, is weakest of all. I blew my heart of glass, decorated with chips from all it was before. But I couldn't feel through my gloves, and I dropped that heart before it ever had a chance to beat. Between the shards, I saw what had lain underneath it all this time. I walked outside and found an oak tree broken by the storm. From her fallenness, I carved heartwood dense, dark, sap dripping blood life on my feet. It took me 3 weeks to whittle my heart. light, tough, smoother than glass, and warmer than steel. I placed my oaken heart between bruised ribs and folded closed my skin, muscle knitting like bark. On the first day of the 4th week, my heart beat at last, its first pulse. Like breathing. A kind stranger once said, "Rain is in the air." Water pools in my lungs, lightning restarting my pulse, thunder rumbling where my gut should be. I ask them under storm clouds, will we drown? Rain falls, wipes, washes, wrings my wrinkles away. All the years I worked for, experience wearily won, absorbed by grass already dead and the black holes of gutters. They said between flashes, we drink the years like fine wine. And in the arms of a jagged bolt, I lost them. I swim home, paddling past strangers, kind and unkind, stranger and strange. Swallowing thunder, I wonder about the kindness of strangers, the strangeness of kindness, the kind of strange only stranger than kind. My home is washed clean by the storm. I backstroke up the steps and find myself in a living room of fish. Drifting in their midst, I ask them if they have finally drunk enough. Her ribs are applewood. Her fingers long ago lost their feeling. Nails browning, abscising in a breath lost between her toes, she colds and colds the winter, slumbering nailless, hairless, skin chapped peeling into strips. Where her children planted, grapevines wrap clothes to out their colding. She colds, still in spring, her skin senescing, flesh bared to the bees, colorless arms too thin, too dead, too little for homes to make. A hole in her heart invites them in, and colding empty, filling motion, she flies and breathes and buzzes with them. Okay. Now I'm going to shift back to fiction to give us a little break. The next story I'm going to read is pretty short, and it's going to come a little bit towards the spookiness of the season. So it is called Before We Dance, and it was published in issue 2 of Tree and Stone magazine. And I just dropped the link in the chat as well. Before we dance. The lichens begin it. Clinging to slate and granite crosses, they release their humming to the midnight air. Between October and November, a yellow moon casts its rays on the first notes of a song older than life. From the lichens, mosses inherit the tune. Rhythmic pulses waver from plot to plot, climbing over pillow stones and gravel paths, straining for the air. In the minutes after midnight, the song is still in its infancy. A sound is easily imagined as ignored, blending with the dark, sliding between shadows. When the roots begin, words take shape. They are old words, older than language that requires tongues and vocal cords, older than xylem and phloem, older than air. There is no translation for the song sung by lichen, moss, and root. When the spores take their cue, it is as if the very dark were thrumming with the beat. A beat like and unlike a heart, like and unlike a song. Notes rise, plants shake, and slowly, in a measure of silence, breathless pausing while the moon passes behind a cloud, the soil starts to move. We have no tongues, no ears, no voices, and no roots of our own. The song we feel in our bones, what bones remain. It calls us up from broken vaults and shattered caskets. It calls us towards that firefly moon, yellow as the sun and stronger than dawn. Our feet emerge first, pulled to the music that breaks our slumber. We are dancing before we're fully free, convulsing, clattering, tearing apart the rot that blocks our rising. In clumps, we liberate our bones, whole and incomplete and awake. We know nothing but the song. We know nothing but the song. We know nothing but the song. Between October and November, we dance in moonlight the color of summer. Lichens wrap around our non-voices, giving us words before words were made. Stories before stories twine around our bones, holding us up and holding us up in the clouds of spores and night. We know nothing but the song. Moss replaces flesh and roots act as surrogate muscles, bringing us close to one another in ways we don't know if we've ever been. Yellow moon, decaying dark. This night we remember. The roots are the first to quiet, settling into longer and longer rests as the moss drags out the coda. We slow, slump, disentangled by stones that maybe were ours, maybe were neighbors. The lichens release us and we know the yellow moon is setting, yellow sun rising. Morning steals our song away in pieces, tugging note by note into the cold air. Moisture falters and we fall apart again. The lichens are the last to sleep, their humming carrying into the morning light. Their song follows us into our dreams, into earth and winter. When they fall at last into silence, we feel the gentle pulse of their metronome, counting and counting and counting the lives before. Our bones will sing again. Okay, now I will shift back to poetry and read some poems from the second half of my collection, which is focused on more dark fairy tale and folk retellings, and also just general more spooky, grim horror vibes. So I'm going to read a few of those poems. And I forgot to mention that this collection, it's coming in April 2023, and it is available for pre-order now. So if you follow the link I dropped in the chat, you can read a little blurb about it and also find out how to pre-order. Okay. Mary Celeste. Swell below my intestines. Break, regroup, rise again. Gurgling hunger rends the night. Desperate hunger shakes the sky. Up, down, tossed this way by fate, tossed that way by a misplaced heartbeat, a misjudged destination. Intestines swell, stomach turn, belly of the beast, the temper-tossed waves. Calm me, tell the sea, recalculate the stars, recalibrate the senses. Misjudged, ill-placed faith, in these treacherous waters from shore to endless horizon, falling off the edge of the world, shrinking into the distance, convulsing, converging. We took this path in error. We took an empty ship into overflowing sensation. Creaking timber, swelling sails, lifeboat splashes, plunges us together into history. Squeezing hands, thrashing dreams, bear west, onward to the unknown. Swells stretching and imploding into water drops on chapped skin. Odkin. On the gray liminals of the ocean, shorelines, places of salvage where spirits idle and futures wander under the captive witness of a disheveled sky. Multiplicity unfurls in seashells, muscles cracking open, tasting the danger on the shape-shifting breeze. I found a piece of broken sapphire smoothed by the tantrums of the sea. Cylinders collapse when waves wash through them. We find their bones wrapped in the dust of ancestors forgotten. My pockets, distended with exiles, carry broken migrants from worlds connected by dead things. Behind me, the bridge widens, reflecting a screaming sky. And then I will dig my fingers into the clay, searching for maybe, for what? Caked joints with ash in the gaps where questions once hung. Then I will shed the pebbles and make way for gravel to line my seams, struck from what I was, patched, glaring in the sun. Then I will carve into myself the words I forgot to speak. So when I sit cross-legged in the field, my voice is legible for ages into now. Then all that I wrought or ripped out of the soil of my beginning, falling back, collapses with the dawn, and I am nothing more than what rude armament was made of me when it all began. Weos, Phaeton's Flight. That morning, my father lit a candle for me to guide my ride over sea and shore. I threw myself open, rising, ready. Thermals buoyed me, pulling me ever on, yet always keeping me at a distance, keeping me just far enough away. I rose and rose until I was sailing through a cloud bank of smoke and flame. My eyes filled with fire, and I remembered my name to him. Sun, sun. Step 1, 2, 2 hearts, side by side. Step 1, 2, higher than before. Step 1, into the sky. Step 2, into me. Step out of me. We opened our eyes and saw dawn falling with stars around his ribcage, opening wide onto 8 hooves, straining free of our bony stable, riding high on the horizon. Our charge led him on out of himself, into the mist, into the fall. Nostrils flared against the flame, our legs kicking the air. Taut skin, stained sunrise red. I took down the tendons of life and wove them into ropes to hold my fears, ropes to hold my ambitions. In the pre-dawn light, I fastened them to part of myself, wrapping them round and round my life, cinching tight. In the pre-dawn light, we held tight, flying into the mist, into the smoke, into the future. We flew in captivity, bound by ropes of his fashioning, bound and bloody and scorched by desire. We rose over whole, unbroken skin. The higher we got, the rounder it became, speckled and spangled, imperfect, bruised. In the distance, twirling stem, straining into the atmosphere, sometimes red, sometimes green, with a broad white sea where his teeth sunk in, tearing flesh, exposing core. Seeds falling out of the world into empty shadow. When the muscles in my arms lost their tension, reins slipped out of my hands. Snapping skin, snapping sails, torn, shredded by light. Useless wheels skipped off their axles, forging their own path through the mist, dissolving back into the past, until all that touched the ground were fallen leaves, red and yellow and orange like the chariot. Gold, guilt, blood. I reached the apex, staring down at all the things I hadn't made, all the things that weren't mine to create, but mine to shine upon. When the time was right, I dove and snatched the apple from the ether, biting in, spraying ocean to the stars. As we were falling, we recalled his name to him. Sun, sun. Great. Thank you. That concludes the poetry, and I'm going to read one more story, and then hopefully we'll have some time to chat a little bit. I will hopefully be able to get so people can actually speak. Otherwise, you can just type things into the Q&A and I can respond, share, whatever. So the final story that I want to conclude with just came out in the September issue of Flash Fiction Online. It is called Everything You Once Were. And I'm hoping that it will bring some sort of solar punk merging with a little bit of light horror vibes. All right. Everything you once were. You are 4 when you decide to swim to the barnacle-covered rock where your brother likes to squat, peeling snails up in between waves. You wade and wade until your toes can't find sand anymore, until your eyes can't find sun. Pink floaties slip from your too thin arms, and you sink for the first time. After the water has drained from your lungs, your mouth emptied of salt, teeth washed clean, you find yourself in a garden. You don't remember drowning, but you know you are no longer a girl. Your eyelashes have become aphids. Your tendons are unwrapped from your bones and tied instead to mycelia. Your bones abandon their calcium in flavor of xylem, phloem, sap replacing blood. Skin peels into petals. In the wake of your water death, you surface at last. Your eyes unspool into a carpel, unfearing, unwearied. Your lips are anthers dribbling seconds onto the breeze. You don't blink when the rain comes. Letting it wash over your new form, you feel that same kiss that brought you here, body altered, remade into a thing no lungs can betray. Your blossoms are floaty pink. Your flower life lasts a single summer before you wither with the frost. When you wake again, you are 50, lying in a parking lot staring into the wide eyes of an EMT. Your heart beats in your 2 large ears. You use your worn wallet to find your name during the ride to the hospital. Dave. It doesn't sound floral. You don't like it, but you like being able to move again. Dave has 2 children, a girl and a boy. The boy is 4 and likes painting with his hands stained green and pink. The girl is 10 and hunts bugs in the garden. You are afraid you won't know them, but they are easy to love. You take them on hikes in the hills. The boy brings a magnifying glass and a box of crayons. The girl brings a journal and a pair of scissors, pressing leaves and flowers between the pages. Her favorites are pink, like yours. You love these hikes most in your 3rd life. Your doctor says they're good for your health. You know they're best for your memory. You like climbing past blossoms and under trees. You are hiking when the wildfire comes. The girl starts running. You pick up the boy and run after her until you can no longer see her, until you can no longer see the boy in your arms, his hands wrapped around a flower you picked for him. Smoke closes around you like ocean waves. You sleep for a long time. When at last you wake, it is to cold wind. You feel yourself reaching, tearing fingers, toes to the bone as you hold onto all you were given, a stone. Ah, but you have no bones, no fingers, no toes to grip anymore. As you become your next self, exhaling smoke from dissolving lungs, you are aware of the rhizinae binding you in place. Your legs have solidified into a lower cortex, insulation from the surface that will be your next home. Your veins, medulla. Your muscles, algae. Your face upturned to the cutting wind, the upper cortex of the lichen you've become. Lying flat, progressing slow, you feel a memory of the fire that put you here. The sun finds you again, isolated on exposed rock. You feel its distant burning, and you warm, just enough. Smokeless, it feeds you. Painless, you endure. Ages wear your rock to the earth. You last through centuries, growing older than you've ever been. You're conscious of others around you, growing and shrinking with the seasons. You wonder if any were once a boy who loved painting, a girl who loved collecting, a brother who loved the sea, a little sister who loved him. No, that last one is you, or was, or is? Memories mixing with instincts, you live your life in bare exile. You are afraid you will stay here forever, until a child, hiking with their parents, finds you. They carry no magnifying glass, no journal, no floaties too large for their arms. They carry nothing at all. Picking up a sharp stone, they kneel by your rock. With patient concentration, they chisel you away. Your flakes fall, scattered by the wind. The child runs back to their parents, pink sneakers floating over dry grass waves. You do not become human this time. Dispersed, you sink again. As the earth closes over you, you find yourself in eternal darkness. You loathe it, wish to breathe air again, taste food again, spread life again. And you do. Hyphae unravel your arteries, detangle the neurons that brought you to your first end. Everything you once were moves in another direction, spreading you through the earth that as a flower held you prisoner. You discover you can move. You discover you can grow. Wrapping tendrilled hands around roots, you make connections with the spirits of others. Have they died like you? But no, they are something other, something harsh and strong and alien and familiar. You use them to spread yourself further, distribute your darkness until you feel, hear, taste, sense. It is time. From underneath, you rise in 100 places. Better than eyes, you see in every direction when you sprout through rotted leaves. Better than lungs, you breathe the midnight air. Better than words, you launch your spores to the gentle breeze. You began a single being, vulnerable, alone, but no longer. You have become everything. Great, thank you. So I wanted to wrap up reading with some time to talk. And I have the Q&A open in front of me, but I don't see anything there yet. So if you have anything that you want to share, any questions, any comments, anything at all, please feel free to drop it in there. Obviously, I could read some more, but I feel like at a certain point, a whole hour of reading is a lot. So I wanted to have some time to do something else. So I'll just give it a couple minutes, maybe 3 minutes until 5:45, and I'll give people time to drop anything you want in the Q&A. Hopefully you have access to it, and you can see it and it's showing up on your screens. And yeah, so I'll just be quiet for a little bit and let everyone think, share, whatever. cat has been trying to get into this room for the duration of this reading. I think he finally gave up. We've got 1 more minute of the time I allotted for anyone to share anything. Looks like there's nothing in there, so I guess I can go ahead and end early if there's nothing that anyone wants to talk about. I dropped links to the pieces I read in the chat. Oh wait, I've got something in the Q&A. Yes, I can tell more about the book I have coming up. So I have a collection coming out on April 4th from Android Press, which is the sponsor of this conference. And it is called Rivers in Your Skin, Sirens in Your Hair. It is a collection of 50 new and collected poems that are mostly nature, and they're mostly speculative poems. Some are like a little less overtly speculative, but they all have notes of nature, of magic, some fairy tale elements, a lot of queer elements in the poems. So that is coming out in print and online in April. And I did put the link in the chat. I'll just drop it again so anyone who came in a little later can see it. So I'm very excited about that. So the poems I read just now will be in that collection. Some of those poems have been published before. I'm trying to think of the ones, Odkin, one of the ones I read, was just came out in issue 4 of Seaside Gothic, which is a print publication based in the UK. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And I will be sharing things at updates relating to that collection, both on my newsletter, which you can subscribe to through my website. Maybe I'll drop that in the chat as well. Bear with me while I pull that up on my screen so I can drop the link in there. You can feel free to subscribe to my website. And oh, sorry, I lost my window. Here we go. And it looks like, actually, I just had a different chat come up that said lobby chat, and it looked like I could see other things there than I can on the Zoom window. Oh, great. Thank you. Someone really liked the lichen story. So yes, you can subscribe to my newsletter, and I just send a monthly newsletter with new stories and poems that have come out, little excerpts of those with links. And I also share when I'm going to be at conferences or other events through that. So feel free to go through that form and sign up to get that email. I promise I don't inundate you with emails. And I will be at CanCon in a couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be on a couple panels there in the in-person version of the conference. And I think that's about it. We're coming up. I think I'll probably end about 10 minutes early if we don't have any other questions or comments, and give everyone a time to break if there is something directly after this. So yeah, I am also on Twitter. The link to my Twitter is also on my website, but I can also drop that here because I also tweet pretty regularly about updates for things like forthcoming publications or things that have just come out. So I'll drop that link, and then I guess I'll wrap up. So thank you everyone for coming and listening. I hope things didn't run together. I know when there's a lot of pieces being read, it can just kind of blur together. So I hope that the way I did it by separating out stories and poems helped a little bit with that. And really, I just wanted you to be able to relax and listen to some kind of flowery prose and feel a little bit of connection to hopefully the work, maybe relate a little bit to aspects of it. And yes, I hope you're enjoying the conference, and I think I'll just wrap up because I'm not seeing anything else in the Q&A. So thank you again, and have a great evening.